Hey guys, I am Lana. This is from Corporate Crystals. We're back for another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my spiritual gifts and my experiences with them so far. And I'll tell you what, I wish I could say that like they were positive, but they were not. And I think that's like a common thing. So I want to start by talking about that. I'm sure some of you will be able to resonate with the fact that you probably didn't know you had gifts and they probably were not, they felt like something you needed to hide. They felt like something you needed to suppress. You felt not normal, not welcome, not like different. I always knew I was different. I knew I was different from a very young age. And the sad part is it was such a poor experience that I made it my mission to become normal. It's almost like I was rewarding myself for being normal. Like, I remember being like, get the most normal job, blend in, and just chill. And don't stand out. Don't be flashy. Like, I could see everyone else seemed to care a lot about like how they looked and stuff like that. But it's like, I felt like if I dressed up and was flashy, I might get sexually abused again, you know? So I'm not really trying to draw attention to myself. And then anytime I was like shining in whatever way, it just didn't seem like people were happy for me to shine. So I would prefer to just kind of like shine by myself a little bit. And I never really understood what that was, but I definitely could feel I was different. I could feel something was going on and I didn't know what it was and I never could figure it out. So I just ended up just kind of like doing my own thing. And when I wasn't doing my own thing, I'm blending in with the world and being as normal as possible while I continue to just try to like stockpile money to get to retirement as fast as possible because it felt unsafe. It felt like I can't be myself. If I am myself, people don't like it. If I shine in whatever way, it's drawing attention to me. That attention being drawn to me doesn't feel that positive. And then it also is getting me like physically injured at times. So I'd rather just like hang back, you know? And that there's a lot of trauma built into that whole thing. So yeah, it's like kind of sad, but it is what it is. So a lot of hiding, a lot of like my own world, keeping it to myself. And that stems from a place where you can imagine like, as a little girl, let's say, this isn't my experience, I don't see like shadow figures or anything, but just as an example, let's say like a kid who sees ghosts or shadow figures or whatever, and they tell their family or tell their parents, they're like, I see a shadow over there or whatever. I could imagine that's a perfect example of that child has a spiritual gift, and depending how their parent reacts to that is going to be very dependent on how that gift is nurtured or developed or interpreted, right? So if a parent is like, ooh, cool, like where is the shadow figure? Describe it. Like, let me know. Anytime you see more of these shadow figures, like, let me know. That's really cool. That would probably be promoting a healthy, positive experience for this child who has this spiritual gift, right? Versus an experience where it's like, oh no, honey, there's nothing there. I'm looking, there's nothing there. So ghosts aren't real, honey. Shadow figures, you're not seeing anything, right? That would be a completely different response that creates trauma for that child if they really are seeing a shadow figure or a ghost. And this is why it's super important to talk about spiritual gifts and to evolve as a collective in this way, because we all have spiritual gifts. Some far more prominent than others, but all of us have it. And so at a young age, if we're expressing our gifts and they are rejected essentially. Or just because someone else doesn't have that gift, so they're not perceiving things the same way we are, doesn't mean that their reality and my reality can't be different, right? So if your parent doesn't have the same spiritual gifts as you, or doesn't know spiritual gifts are a thing and anything like that, then you expressing your own spiritual gifts, of course they're going to be like, no, honey, you're wrong, whatever. But that creates a lot of trauma, because the reality is, if that child does have a spiritual gift and really is seeing shadow figures, ghosts, or whatever it is, then you are now telling that child that something's wrong with them. They are wrong. They think wrong. They are experiencing reality wrong. They're feeling things wrong. And their own reality is now wrong. But the problem with that is, just because you tell them that doesn't mean that the shadow figures go away. It doesn't mean that they aren't actually seeing ghosts. But what you have done is you've now created an unsafe environment for that child to nurture that spiritual gift, for that child to be themselves, for that child to do their divine path, follow their soul purpose, because all of our gifts tie into what we're here to do. And I'm not shaming the parents or the, caretakers of whatever kind. It typically is fear is brought up out of them, and that fear they project onto the child. And this has to change in our collective, because we have some very special children that are here, and very special children that will be born, that are here to change the world. They will be evolving the collective through galactic wisdom and inventions that are going to help our collective literally evolve very quickly, let's say. So we as a collective need to understand that we need to be uplifting one another, supporting one another's gifts, and encouraging it, and understanding we all have it. So you just need to figure out who you are, tap into your own divinity, heal, and figure out who you are. And then you're going to find your gifts. And once you find your gifts, it aligns to your soul path. And literally, we will all nurture and support and uplift you on that journey, in theory, right? But because we're not all operating this way from the very get-go, even as parents or caretakers, it creates a lot of trauma for people who do have spiritual gifts. One, they don't even know that the spiritual gifts are a thing. So it's not like they can Google spiritual gifts and be like, I wonder if I have one of those, because no one around them is talking about it. No one is looking for it, keeping their eyes open, right? Additionally, if a parent has the consciousness level that is in a lower place than their child, to where their child can perceive things and experience things that the parent cannot, then that parent will, of course, create trauma on the child. When the child is here at a higher consciousness level with spiritual gifts, probably to help evolve that family, evolve the collective, of course, etc. So children like that need to be nurtured and uplifted, and also with the understanding that our current structure, not everybody, but a big portion of people being put into our school system and universities, if your child has spiritual gifts, which again, I think we all do, but some of them really should not be put into the boxes and the confines of the systems that we have created. It's very important that we have creative freedom and kind of unique exploration for each child, because at least from my experience, as someone who's very creative and very intuitive, none of that was an option. That, it wasn't viewed as a gift. In fact, it was actually viewed as an annoyance for me, because everyone's like, oh, she's so creative. I'm like, cool. What do you want me to do with that? The only creativity I could see in my world was I could do arts and crafts at school or something. And I'm like, so you want me to do arts and crafts? You know what I mean? I just didn't understand why that mattered. So everyone would always say oh, she's so creative, but it didn't it didn't fit into my reality anywhere. So I was just like, okay, cool. Like that is a waste of my time. Like how do I survive? Like you guys aren't helping me friggin' survive, trauma. But anyway, so being intuitive, being creative, they definitely weren't like, they didn't feel like they were helping me fit into this very masculine dominant world better. So my feminine energetics and my spiritual gifts, I had to suppress them and push them off to the side in order to survive, in order to feel safe. Because I also would have experiences because I can read energy, and ever since a little girl, I had a high emotional intelligence. And so I would be the person who like, I'd say things like, he's a mean man, or like, she's a mean woman. And at a young age, I'm able to read people's energy and kind of like categorize their energetics. And you could imagine that as a little kid, unless you're saying that like in the safety of your home or something, like that would put a target on you. That would be frowned upon in current society, But the reality is I was able to read energy like that my whole life. And so my whole life I had people who did not like me, because even if I wasn't verbalizing he's a mean man or she's a mean woman, they could feel it. They could sense it. I had adults in my reality while I was a young teenager, and they were controlling and manipulating like narratives and like situations to discredit me as a person, discredit my mental health, discredit my gifts, discredit my character, because I was seeing them and I saw them clearly, so I just stayed away. But they could tell that I was treating them differently than other people treat them, and that bugged them. They needed to change my mind. They needed to alter the way that I viewed them so they wouldn't leave me alone when I was just literally like trying to be left alone, right? It was very weird and hard. So I learned to keep my little world to myself and stay hidden, stay small, not shine. Shining didn't bring any safety. And it even is like down to the way I dress. Like I have been sexually abused a bunch. So why would I want to like bring more attention to myself? Like, why would I want to be flashy? I don't care to be flashy, and this is wounding that God's unfortunately going to make me have to work through, I'm sure. But, yeah, I didn't care. I wasn't like looking to seek my dreams. I wasn't looking to attract attention my way. I was looking to literally like blend in, stay safe, hide, make money, and retire. I thought that was fine. Like I had no problem with that because I didn't care about the spotlight. Like I could see all of the options in the world, and I was like, I don't care about any of that. Like I really don't. I just want to be safe. I want to feel safe. And I tended to feel safe not near a lot of people. Because when I was around a lot of people, there was just something about my energy. I have very contrasting energy, and I have struggled with it. Like, I wish that it was different, because there's this like really like loud, boisterous part of my energy, which can come off as like intense, and it is intense, and like attention seeking. And then there's this other part of me that's like so sweet and like sensitive, and like people, depending which one they see, they think the other one isn't real or something. And I'm just like, they're all real. I'm a very complicated like person. I have every friggin' energy. It's so intense. And so I just learned to just like keep it all to myself, because it, depending on the person, they can't see your sensitive side because they don't deserve that side of you. And then the other ones, they may deserve that side of you, but they have to like earn it, So it's like a lot of the time walking around in your masculine energy on this planet is the safe way, which is what twins are trying to like help solve, but unfortunately it's just been freaking traumatic along the way. So I always knew I was different. I always knew I didn't fit in. I always knew I was not normal, and I made it my freaking mission to try and be as normal as possible, and I don't think it like worked very well. And I definitely didn't want attention on me. And it's funny because I had attention on me, but I tended to make it I'm like the class clown. So it's like I want attention on me because I told a funny joke, not because anyone's actually like getting to know me. And that was a defense mechanism, because every time people actually would get to know me, then I risk being seen as not normal, as different, as my authentic self, which doesn't fit in here, right? And so I didn't know that. But I guess I learned a defense mechanism from a very young age to like use humor, which I think is like not a problem, but at the same time, like I understand why people think I'm not that smart, and I understand like why I did it, you know? And it just is what it is. Okay, so then I pick this like boring life where I'm just like trying to be as normal as possible, and I'm like very bored. And so what do? I start drinking and doing drugs, right? And I've talked about this before. Like, I don't regret that at all. I really don't. I'm not condoning that behavior, but I'm telling you why I did it. It's because I was very bored. School, boring for me. It was, I hated it. I hated school. I felt like I was being punished. And then the same thing, I get to career and I feel like I'm being punished. It's like the only positive about having a job is then I can use that money to go like have fun after work, or like when I'm not working or on the weekends or whatever. I felt like I was a slave. And so, of course, when I'm out of my slave schedule of like 9 to 5, Monday through Friday or whatever it was, of course I'm going to rebel. Of course I'm going to be bored in that and then like seek stimulation and excitement in other ways, right? So it makes complete sense to me why so many people are drawn to addiction or drawn to substance abuse, because we're bored in so many ways, like unfulfilled, you know, from my experience, not to tell you how you feel, but that's how I felt. Yeah, so I learned a lot of things, but most of it is keep myself to myself. Hide. Be normal. Don't be yourself. Be as normal as possible, because you don't fit in here. And the more people know that, the less safe you're going to be. And then God is like, hi, you ready? Come on out. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready, actually. And then what does that lead me to? My life has been threatened multiple times on this journey already. And so I'm right. I was right the entire time. Even from a young age, I had people in the dark triad, psychology, shapeshifters and master manipulators who have been trying to plot on me my entire life. I didn't know that's who they were. I didn't know that's what it was. But this has been happening my entire life. And then sure enough, God's like, step out, shine. And so I do. And it's part of the path. But holy crap, I have literally like my life being threatened. Like I have been in dangerous situations like throughout my life. And so it just felt like the safest thing to do was to not be myself. The safest thing to do is to hide. Don't draw attention to myself. Don't be flashy. Like, don't do any of that. Because it's really like, it's an unsafe planet. It is a very, very unsafe planet. And so we're trying to heal it. We're trying to fix it. And I'm very passionate about fixing it and healing it because my entire life felt unsafe. My entire life felt boring. My entire life felt traumatizing. And I'm not alone in that, and I'm also not trying to I'm not a victim. This is unfortunately, a very common experience on our planet. So how do we change it? Well, I guess we have to admit that. And we have to come out and operate in a different way. And for me, I was operating in a different way than society, but I was doing it behind the scenes. I was doing it without telling people about it. And now I have to do it visibly, I guess. And not in the safety of the structures that are crumbling. And that's a very scary thing for me and, all of us who are kind of exiting the matrix in that way. But at the same time, it has to happen. The reason it has to happen is so that no children have to go through what we have gone through, what I have gone through. It's not fair that I just had 3 decades, literally 3 decades of my life were fake, basically, which is so sad. And it's not anyone's fault. I'm not blaming it on anyone specific. It's just the deck of cards that God wanted me to walk through in order for me to see this, in order for me to experience this, in order for me to know what needs to shift and change. And so I have gratitude for it, but damn, to go that amount of time thinking something is wrong with you and that you have to hide to stay safe and your life is in danger. That's crazy. And so I don't know how in the hell to change it other than what I'm doing and following my path that God is having me on. But at the same time, it has to change. So if you can relate to this at all, then I'm so, so sorry that you had to go through that too. Because it's not fair. It is not fair. We should be able to walk on this planet being our authentic self and following our soul path without fear of being injured, without fear of being sexually abused, without fear of being killed, without fear of being gaslit, manipulated, and controlled by other people. And then if they can't control you, manipulate you, gaslight you, they'll manipulate and gaslight everyone around you. So our planet has to change. It has to. And so to be a part of that change is hard. That is why your life will be threatened, potentially, it's a very weird feeling. That's if you haven't experienced that, then good, But for those of us who have experienced that, you have to ask yourself a lot of questions. Why would I want to do this? Why am I still doing this? What am I fighting for? There's a lot there. And the reality is, it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the people who are trying to kill me. If someone's trying to kill me, then there's something wrong with them. That is a mental illness, frankly. Not to just call it out, but it is. One of the commandments in the Bible is literally not to murder. So it just is what it is. It's a deviation from love, which means someone has deviated so far away from God, which is love, to where they feel like that is okay behavior, which means they're literally operating out of the Antichrist impulse and they're doing Satan's work for them energetically through their own vessel. They have been possessed by the Antichrist impulse. But that doesn't make it easier for the individuals who are being plotted on and it's targeted. It's very crazy. But it is what it is, and we're all navigating through it together. But spiritual gifts have to be recognized as something that every single child has, and we have to like encourage it, and we have to promote it and uplift it and work together to create systems that allow the children to like get excited about the curiosity of what their gifts are. Like, what is my gift? What is my path? How does that tie together? What am I here to do? What is my soul path and soul mission? And some people do that, right? But a big portion of our collective, they don't. And I have my theories as to why, but I think an overall consensus would be a disconnection from God, a brainwashing through systems and schooling and other things, and then a cultural lack of awareness of how to support one another through that journey. It's gotten to like a very competitive like collective, like where it's like, why can't we all just like uplift one another? Because your success and my success, we literally can both be successful. So there's no like pulling people down and tearing people down and like, if that person's successful, then that means I'm not. No, that's not how it works at all. Literally, we all follow our soul path, and then we all are successful in our own path. God designed our path with blessings for us to find. Our gifts, our whatever, all of our blessings, they're hidden along our path for us to discover. But you have to like literally believe in yourself and in your path and in God, and tap into your gifts and tap into like people who love and support you and uplift you on that journey so you can get there. And people who are trying to compete with you and tear you down and don't want you to win, and they're trying to, you know, gaslight and manipulate you or other situations, like those are not your people, period. But us as a collective, we have to be the leaders who are getting the collective closer towards uplifting one another, finding our gifts, finding out our soul path, encouraging one another to go down that path, because by us all walking on that path in our purpose with our gifts, it is the highest potential for our entire collective. For all of us to be there in our own highest potential, then all of us will be walking in our highest potential together. It would be so beautiful, and it will be, because I believe we'll get there, but it has to start with baby steps, and it has to start with us all doing it and coming out of the closet and not hiding anymore and not hurting one another for just being ourselves. If you don't like someone, literally, I get it, walk away. And then maybe self-reflect as to why you don't like that person, right? But if you don't even want to go that far, fine. Just leave them alone. Like, there's so many other people on the planet that you will like. That's just not your person, so leave them alone. The world would be a better place if that's the way we operated. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Love you guys. Bye!